Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF World Champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Sergey Kuzmin.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 198 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Kuzmin. I'm joined this week by the former heavyweight world title challenger. It is of course Mr. Eddie Chambers. Eddie, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Hey, how you doing, man? Happy to be on again.
Yeah, it's brilliant to have you back. Obviously, you filled in many times for Riaz. I feel like we almost like, if I had enough money, Eddie, I think you'd deserve like a pay rise from zero to like, I don't know, just something substantial. You've really helped out, man.
I appreciate it, man. But it's all good, man. Like I said, I'm always happy to help out my friends.
I appreciate that, Eddie. I really do. Right, let's move on now to the review part of the show. We're going to start here at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. This card was a Mayweather Promotions card. It was shown out there in the States on Showtime. No UK TV station picked it up, unfortunately, so we all had to stream it. But yeah, there wasn't really too much to stream, to be honest. The main event, the main fight was over before you knew it. Gervonta Davis, another destruction job. Just 2 rounds it took him to TKO Ricardo Nunes, who's now 21-3. 22-0 now, Gervonta Davis. 21 by knockout. It was a defense of his WBA Super-Featherweight title. He instantly called out Tevin Farmer after the fight, and obviously Tevin Farmer also fought on the same night and he got a win as well. On the undercard of Gervonta Davis, we got to see Yuriorkis Gamboa. It was actually his 30th win. I said it on last week's show. It was kind of the perfect fight for him to look good. He took on Roman Martinez, a guy that's been pretty inactive over the past couple of years. Martinez actually got KO'd in 2 rounds. So like I say, the 2 main fights were over very quickly. Gamboa, like I say, 30-2. Roman Martinez, 30-4 with 3 draws. I think that's the end really for Martinez. I think, for Gamboa at this stage of his career to get you out of there in that fashion, I mean, that speaks volumes, really, because a lot of people feel like Gamboa should probably think about hanging him up. I think that's a little bit harsh, but, he's, I feel like I wouldn't say he's flopped since turning professional, but, he's certainly had a few rocky moments there. A lot of people losing faith in him. Moving out now, though, to the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas, USA. The final card to mention from last weekend. We're going to start with the undercard. Tremaine Williams, friend of the show. I think he was on last week or the week before. He's now 19-0. The mighty midget, they call him. 5'4". He embraces the nickname. He told me, Joey, I am the best at my weight, at super bantamweight. A lot of great fighters there. He believes he is one of the very best the best in the world. It was actually for the vacant WBO, NABO Super Bantamweight title and the vacant USBA Super Bantamweight title. So 2 new belts there for Tremaine Williams. 19-0, a 10-round unanimous decision over Yenifel Vicente, very big puncher. Now 35-4 with 2 draws. This guy had more knockouts than Tremaine Williams actually had fights. Way more knockouts. I think he had 27 knockouts, and Tremaine, like I say, was only 18 fights into his career. Very obvious and clear winner, Tremaine Williams. Extremely hard to hit. I mean, it was quite entertaining watching him, the movement that he's got. There was a particular period, I can't remember what round it was, and Vicente was just throwing shots from all angles, and Tremaine Williams was actually almost taking a knee, ducking some of them. He was jumping, he was moving side to side. It was beautiful. And then the bell went, and Vicente was so frustrated, he threw a shot clearly after the bell that did actually connect. He finally got him in the end. But very, very tricky customer, Williams. Certainly has a lot to offer. Obviously, the one bad thing is that he's 5'4" and he's not really a big puncher. So small guys usually, it's great for them to be big punchers. Being a small guy with not that much power, that can be quite problematic. I think you'd probably agree with that, Eddie. The small guys, if you can't whack, it's a bit of a problem. If you're small and you can whack, fair enough. If you're tall and you can't whack, fair enough. But if you're two of those things, like you can't punch and you're small, it can be quite problematic when you're moving up in level, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that I had to kind of deal with to a degree with my career, even though I'm a heavyweight. And I got respect for the most part from, the fighters I've fought. It's not like they were walking me down for the most part. So, I mean, I had a certain degree of power, but it was never knockout power. So, and even with that, if you're just all skills, a lot of times it's hard to get people to really want to watch you. So, yep, it's tough.
It certainly is tough. And talking of lots of skills and not everyone wanting to watch, Tevin Farmer, a defence successful of his IBF World Super-Featherweight title. In the other corner, Guillaume Frenois, now 46-2 with one draw. Obviously, Frenois, we've talked about it before, very, very padded record. It wasn't really a fight that I was super-duper looking forward to watching. Obviously, Tevin Farmer was going to win very easily, and he did. And, I had to drop that in there. About having all the skills and not everyone wanting to watch, because the crowd erupted in boos when Tevin Farmer started his post-fight interview in the ring with Chris Mannix. I was a bit surprised, really. I mean, Farmer did put on a punch-perfect display. It was a typical Tevin Farmer performance, really. I mean, we come to expect that. You see nice silky skills and a wide dominating win, and it was just exactly what I expected it would be. So I'm not quite sure why fans were booing that, but it was what it was. Another win for him. I think he's going to be out at some point later on in the year, but we do want to see that unification with Gervonta Davis. Topping the bill on that card, I should mention, Jose Carlos Ramirez, now 25-0. It was a unification fight for his WBC world title, and Maurice Hooker's WBO. Hooker went into the bout also undefeated, 26-0 with 3 draws. At the time of the stoppage, by the way, one judge had it a draw. I believe that was Jesse Reyes, 47-47. Ramon Herdan had it 49-45 in favour of Ramirez, and Juan Carlos Pelano had it 48-46. So 2 judges were actually favouring Ramirez there, and the other judge, like I say, had it a draw going into the 6th and final round, where the TKO came for Jose Carlos Ramirez. Obviously, the score probably looked a little bit wider because there was a 10-8 round in the very first round. Ramirez was clearly standing on Hooker's foot as he hit him, and it kind of made him stagger backwards. So it was a bad call from the referee, but I only spotted it myself on the replay. So did the commentators. So can't really blame the referee too much, but Hooker kept finishing rounds quite strongly. I felt like Ramirez would do well in the very first kind of part of the round, and then as the round would go on to the second half, Hooker would take over, and that's very smart boxing there. You'd expect him to be stealing rounds because it's so fresh in the mind of the judges, but apparently not really when you look at the cards. I felt like it was quite a 50-50 kind of fight up until the stoppage. Ramirez was throwing some excellent body shots. He's obviously got a real exciting style, and Hooker, when he let his hands go in combinations, it is very eye-catching. He looks very dangerous. And obviously it was a 50-50 fight on paper going in, and to me it really did look like that. And then, like I say, in the 6th and final round, wow, I mean, the pair were trading, and Hooker was a little bit slow coming back to protect his chin, and boom, the perfect left hook started the trouble really for Hooker, and Ramirez just jumped on him and forced the stoppage, and it was a good stoppage from the referee. Ramirez was landing clean shots at will as Hooker was pinned on the ropes, and I feel like 1 or 2 more shots like that and Hooker would have actually been knocked unconscious. So it was good to see the referee jump in at what I felt was the perfect moment. He was still conscious. He knew what was going on. He knew where he was, but he admitted afterwards the stoppage was the right thing to do. He even come out and said, 2 guys died the other week and I didn't want for that to be me, and I felt like the referee stopped it at the very right time. So I really appreciate his honesty there. But yeah, a very good win for Jose Carlos Ramirez. He collects another piece of hardware at that world level. He's now got 2 of the 4, and obviously we're hoping that he takes on the winner of Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor. And we will see yet again another undisputed world champion at 140. Obviously, the last one being Terence Crawford. It'd be fantastic if all 4 belts can end up with one man so quickly. That'd be quite cool. We like one champion, really, one proper champion per division, and we don't often get it. So to get it twice in the 140 division within a few years is very impressive. Hopefully that does happen. Hopefully politics don't get in the way. But that's about everything for the review part of the show, really. Just before we wrap up part 1, the last thing to do, of course, is to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning IBF Super-Featherweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Tevin Farmer. Tevin, welcome back on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, mate.
It's always a pleasure, mate. Happy birthday, Tevin, for yesterday. Obviously, we were going to try to do the interview yesterday, but our times didn't really work out so much. I was actually going to sing you happy birthday, but thankfully I don't have to do that now. So
you still got to sing it. Nah, thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. Kind of busy yesterday.
No, I can imagine for sure. So, Tevin, like I say, we last spoke back in May. At the time, you just revealed that you'd be taking on Frenois in your next fight. Obviously, the fight happened on the weekend. Please just talk us through it from your perspective.
It was pretty. It was a hell of a fight, you know. I went out there, did what I had to do, got the job done, and on to the next.
Absolutely, and obviously, Tevin, after the fight, I was shocked to hear some of the boos coming from the crowd. Did it surprise you at all?
No, Texas fans, they just go there just for entertainment. They don't know nothing about boxing.
Okay. Yeah, because in my opinion, I mean, you just really put on a punch-perfect performance, and I sometimes dislike the way boxing is becoming more of a business than a sport because, people said that Floyd Mayweather was boring. People said that Vladimir Klitschko was boring. But 2 things that they did have in common was they were able to dominate for over 10 years and they both made multiple millions.
Absolutely. I agree. You're right. They call both of them boring. Floyd boring. And Vladimir boring, but they both made a lot of millions.
Exactly.
And they both boxed for a lot of years.
Yeah, dominated for a lot of years for sure. Now, on the same night as you, Tevin, obviously your arch rival Gervonta Davis also boxed. He got a 2nd round KO win against Ricardo Nunes. Did you happen to watch the fight back at all?
I haven't seen the fight at all.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. And obviously in the ring, I know that you're aware that he called you out. Floyd Mayweather after the fight said that the fight should end up on pay-per-view. Eddie obviously has sent a bunch of offers to their team. It doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy fight to make. It's undoubtedly, though, Tevin, the biggest fight that can be made in the super featherweight division. Do you think it'll ever actually happen, though?
No, I don't think the fight's going to happen. I don't feel like Floyd's going to let the fight happen. Floyd feel like I had the best defense in the game. Floyd was a defensive fighter. He know that defense win fights.
It's a shame, like I say, if that fight doesn't end up getting made, it's a shame. But you will box one more time before the year's out, obviously. You've been very active, Tevin, but most of your opponents haven't really had a massive profile in the States. And like I say, after the fight, you mentioned yourself in the ring 4 names. Davis, that we just spoke about, Jamel Herring, Miguel Burchell, and Joseph Diaz. They are all big names. Do you believe we will see you box one of those guys mentioned there later this year?
I think the one that I might box, the biggest chance is Jojo Diaz. Yeah, that's a fight that I'm picking. That if the unification fights don't get made, I'm definitely gonna pick those fights. That fight.
Because obviously these last few opponents that you've had, Tevin, I'm guessing you probably didn't know too much about them when you signed to fight them. Does Joseph Diaz kind of bring that extra push from yourself, like gives you that extra kind of boost that you need to fight a guy like that?
No. I'm always excited about whoever I fight.
Yeah, that's the way to be, my friend.
I feel like every fighter is dangerous. I don't feel like a certain fighter should be taken more serious than others. I feel like if you training for a fight, you should take everybody serious.
That's champion talk. And which of those guys, the 4 names that you mentioned, which one would you personally love to fight most? Politics aside.
Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that.
Gervonta Davis.
I thought you said that. That's what I mean. It's a shame. Hopefully the fight does get made. I know that your team's trying to do everything that they can, and it takes obviously two to make a fight.
Yeah, but it's not about what my team going to do everything to make it work. If the other team don't want to take it, then the fight won't happen. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not. We already did everything possible.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, it takes two to tango. Tevin, ideally, when would you be fighting next? What month are you looking at? I'm guessing probably like November time?
November.
Yeah, okay. And obviously, like I mentioned, it was your birthday yesterday. I want to ask you, Tevin, what is on your kind of boxing birthday wish list? What do you want to try and achieve before you turn 30 next year?
I don't know. Whatever God got planned for me, that's what I'm trying to achieve. I don't put time on anything, especially success, because success got to come when it comes. You can't. There's no time limit on it. So, I sit back and wait my time. Wait my turn, and whatever happens, happen. I'm just grateful and thankful for it.
Absolutely. And Tevin, as always, I like to just throw you the microphone kind of thing and let you say whatever you like to our listeners just before we let you go. Have you got any closing words?
Yeah, I would like for everyone to tune into my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel called Life with Tevin Farmer, and basically, it's showing a different side of me, a side that not many get to see. It's showing the side outside of boxing. So, I think people will really love it. So, they can tune in Life with Tevin Farmer, LIFEAS Tevin Farmer, TEVIN FARMER. Tune in, go subscribe and watch the videos. And they can follow me on Instagram at Tevin Farmer 22.
Okay, Life of Tevin Farmer. Or Life as Tevin Farmer, did you say?
Yes, Life
as Tevin Farmer. Yeah, because it's interesting, because Eddie Hearn, someone asked him a question the other week, and they said, if you could... It was a really funny question. They said, if you could choose, I think it was 4 boxers to have your back in a street fight, who would it be? And he was saying people like Tony Bellew, big guys. And then he named Tevin Farmer in that 4, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, because Eddie Hearn, though, I'm a real, he know besides boxing, I'm a good dude, but he knows Tevin Farmer is going to rock out. I'm down. I'm down for it. I'm with the shit, basically. That's what I didn't even know. I didn't even know about that. What was this? I want to see it.
Yeah, it was an IFL TV interview, and they said which 4 guys would you have in your corner in the street if it was going to really kick off. And I know that he said Carl Froch. I know that he said Tony Bellew. There was one other guy, I can't remember who it was, and then he said Tevin Farmer. And he said, yeah, I know Tevin's got my back kind of thing. It was funny because it shocked a lot of people when he said that name. We're expecting all the guys to be heavyweights and stuff, No,
I'm a beast. I'm a beast. Yeah, I'm a beast.
I know this,
yeah,
Tevin.
I need you to send me. I need you to send me that.
The link. I will.
Yeah, the link. Send me that link.
I will do, Tevin. But listen, it is always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. Congrats once again on your win from the weekend, and I'm sure that we'll speak again real soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start with the first piece here. Hughie Fury, Eddie, a man that you've obviously spent many hours in the gym with. He has now signed a promotional contract with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Sports. So that's a good move for him, really, Eddie, when you think about it, because obviously he's been under Mick Hennessy for a long time, and then I think he was with Frank Warren for a little while. It didn't really seem to work out. It was kind of when Tyson, I believe, was it when he first sort of went with Warren? Am I getting that wrong? He was with Frank for a while, wasn't he, Eddie? Or am I making that up?
No, Tyson and you.
Yeah.
We all actually, there we all were.
Yeah.
And to a degree, Warren, you know what I mean? So, yeah, you're right. You're on point.
No, but yeah, and then he obviously sort of had the tie with Mick Hennessy, who'd been there really from day one promotionally, and then last time out he was on that bizarre card against Sam Peter in Saudi Arabia. So that was kind of the last piece of bizarreness, I suppose, with with Hughie Fury. But no, he's had decent opportunities still to get Joseph Parker to come over to here for Mick Hennessy to do that. I felt like that was a brilliant move for Hughie Fury. A fight I felt like he probably did enough to win. But yeah, he's now with Eddie Hearn, so it seems like, it's going to be up and up and up from here, really. So a good move for him.
I agree. I mean, now you got an opportunity to fight even more guys. The best are out there and they're available. And it's definitely a good move for Hughie, and I like to get to see him in there with the best guys.
Yeah, not to mention how deep the heavyweight stable is now with Matchroom. There's lots and lots of guys there. Moving on properly, though, to the second piece of news. Hughie Fury's fight has also been announced. I wanted to kind of do it separately. Obviously, the first piece of news being that he signed with Eddie Hearn, but the fight has now been announced. It's going to be Alexander Povetkin, August the 31st at London's O2 Arena, on the undercard of Lomachenko against our very own Luke Campbell. So that one seems like it's going to be a great card, and obviously it's a tough test there for Hughie Fury against Povetkin. Obviously, Hughie's two losses have come at the very top level against Pulev on points and against Parker. Like I said, a fight which really I felt he did enough, but again, 2 points defeats against real good fighters, and Povetkin is certainly not done just yet. So this is probably his toughest fight, actually, because there's a lot of people out there that would rank Povetkin above Parker and they'd rank him above Pulev. So this could potentially be his toughest fight. And what better man really to ask about it than you, Eddie? It seems like Hughie's starting to box all your old opponents. Obviously Sam Peter last time, and this time Povetkin. He's trying to beat all the guys that you boxed.
Well, I think, he got a little inside track with me being over there. No, it's nothing like that. But anyway, Hughie, like we talked about it before, he's been a topic of conversation for us a few times. He's a young fighter, extremely young. He's getting a little bit older now, but he still has a lot of time ahead of him. He's still learning. I mean, at this stage, he's still learning. And yeah, I do agree, Joe. This is probably going to be his toughest fight to date. I mean, even with Joseph Parker and Pulev, two very, very top level guys, I think Povetkin has the experience. Not saying anything to the other two, I don't have experience, but Povetkin has real wealth of knowledge in boxing. I mean, his amateur background and everything that goes along with that, on top of him being just one of the top fighters for the last 10 years. So there's a lot of time he has and a lot of experience he has. So he's going into a really, really tough situation, but he has the ability, the skill set, and the fortitude to handle it. I don't think that it's impossible for him to win this fight by any means. I feel like he has just as much of a chance to win as anyone else in his position. You know what I mean? As a top level fighter. So, and I feel like him being able to win this fight now really gets him in the conversation again for a title. You know what I mean? Obviously, we thought that he probably should have pulled it out against Joseph Parker, but didn't happen. And you know what I mean? Those types of things are going to happen. But with his experience now and fighting Povetkin, if he's able to get this win, I feel like the title's up. He's knocking on the door of the title and possibly going to snatch one up too. So it's going to be a good look for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see that he's still ascending. And I feel like at some point he's going to be a world champion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of people forget he's only 24 still, I believe. And, obviously if Povetkin does lose to him, Povetkin's only got the 2 losses, I believe, which was obviously Klitschko and Joshua. So losing to Hughie Fury at 24 years of age is just about the best win, really. Like I say, that Hughie can kind of draw together at this period of his career right now. So it will be a massive statement if he wins, but it's a big if. Moving over now, though, to the preview part of the show. This one happens tomorrow night at the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool, Merseyside, United Kingdom. Let's start with the undercard. Friend of the show, Robbie Davies Jr., 18-1. He's in an 8-rounder, no opponent just yet, so a TBA there. Also on the bill, Kez Ashfaq, 6-0. He's in an 8-rounder against Sean Davis, who's 14-3. Martin Ilunga Bakoli is his Matchroom debut. He takes on Talo Pereira, who's 11-4 with 2 draws. I've seen him in, I believe, with 1 or 2 other guys. Also on the bill, Lewis Ritson, 18-1. It's a real shame because he was supposed to be taking on Joe Hughes, but Joe Hughes has had to pull out the fight, so no replacement opponent just yet. That's a 10-rounder there against TBA. Sean McGoldrick, 9-0. He takes on Thomas Assomba, who's 8-5. He's a lot better than his record suggests, Assomba. He gave a great account of himself when he took on Lee McGregor. I was there for that one. That was on the undercard, actually, I believe, of Bakoli Hunter. That's a 10-rounder there, by the way. And topping the bill now, Anthony Fowler, 9-1. It's for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Middleweight title. He takes on Brian the Lion Rose, former opponent, actually, of Demetrius Andrade. He's now 31-5 with one draw. I hate to say it because I like Brian Rose. He's a friend of the show. So is Anthony Fowler, by the way. So may the best man win. But I just feel like Anthony Fowler, with his aggressive style, and Brian Rose just a bit too long in the tooth now. I don't think he's beaten anyone with a winning record for almost 3 years, I think it's been. And he's been a little bit inactive as well in that time. I just think it's all wrong for him, really. I think he gets demolished by stoppage quite early on, but I hope I'm wrong there. Moving out now, though, to the Marquee Falls Park in Belfast, Northern Ireland. It's going to be on BT Sport. It's also getting some international interest. It's going to be on ESPN Plus. Topping the bill, the Irish darling, if you like, Michael Conlan, 11-0. He's in a 10-rounder against Diego Ruiz, who's 21-2. Again, they were trying to get Conlan to fight Nikitin. Nikitin didn't fancy it. It's for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Featherweight title and the WBO Intercontinental Featherweight title. So Conlan will be moving up those rankings right there. Also on the bill, Paddy Barnes returns to the ring. I think it's probably the first fight back since he lost out in the States, and he looked horrible. His record 5-2. He's in a 6-rounder, no opponent just yet. Also on the card, Dennis McCann, a Frank Warren prospect, I believe. I think he's with Frank Warren, but he's been on a couple of undercards. He's looked really, really good. I've heard from inside sources that he is the real deal. Apparently he's excellent in the gym. He's in a 6-rounder against Georgi Andonov, who's 5-14, still learning really on the job, I suppose, McCann. Also on the bill, we get to see Sean McComb, 7-0, take on Reynold Garrido, 24-24 with 3 draws. But Garrido, I think his nickname's the Lionheart. He really does come with the lion's heart. Very, very tough guy. Never an easy night when you're fighting him. That's an 8-rounder there. Paddy Gallagher, 16-5, takes on Chris Jenkins for Jenkins' British welterweight title, but also the vacant Commonwealth straps on the line. Jenkins 21-3 with 2 draws, coming off that win over Johnny Garton, which was a brilliant fight, by the way. Jenkins, very, very good fighter. And the very intriguing fight for me on the bill, Luke Keeler, 16-2 with 1 draw. I've said it before. He really reminds me of Joe Calzaghe, even though he's obviously not as good, but the style is very similar in my opinion. He takes on Luis Arias. It's a very weird one. Obviously, Luis Arias, friend of the show, 18-1 with 1 draw. That one loss came to Daniel Jacobs. Arias, again, a bit of a strange one. He was completely demolishing opponents, looking really, really good, and then he lost to Jacobs. He was horrible that night, in all fairness. I think he'll be the first one to admit that. And then he got in there with Gabe Rosado, and it was a real close fight. That was where he got his draw, and a lot of people felt like Rosado should have actually got the decision, really. So Luis Arias seems like he's kind of going downhill after that loss to Jacobs, but we shall see. It'll be a good one there against Keeler. I'm really intrigued by that one. Moving out now, though, to the Bobby Miller Center in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, USA. Return of former 140 world champion Julius Indongo. He was a unified champion. 22-2, he returns for the first time since losing in about 2 rounds, I think it was, to Regis Prograis. He takes on Cartavius Jones Johnson, who's 4-1. Complete mismatch, but Indongo has been out the ring for about 1.5 years. And now the final card to mention, I'm going to be coming to you quite a bit here, Eddie. It's happening at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, USA, Saturday night on Fox TV. On the undercard, let's start with Curtis Stevens, 30-6. That's a 10-rounder against Wow Omatoso, who's 27-4. But the 2 main fights for me, Adam Kaunaki, 19-0. Strong rumors of him at some point getting the Deontay Wilder fight. There was a little period where I think he was offered the Joshua fight, but he's not fighting anyone of that caliber just now. He's taking on Chris Arreola, 38-5 with 1 draw. Chris Arreola, I think, coming off a good win against an undefeated prospect, I believe it was, or something like that, in his last fight. But it's been quite a while really since Arreola's took on anyone of the level of Kaunaki, a young, hungry lion, undefeated, can be a bit of a nightmare style because he's obviously a big guy and he hits, very, very hard, and he throws many, many shots. He's like I want to say he's like an Andy Ruiz Jr., but that's kind of unfair to say because Ruiz is the heavyweight champion of the world. Kaunaki may not be that good, but you know what I mean. He's deceptive, his body shape and his fighting style.
Actually, I would actually have gave him comparisons to actually a younger Chris Arreola, to be honest. I mean, maybe a little bit. Isn't that funny how that works out? I don't think he has the speed of Andy Ruiz or even the skills, but he definitely has the business and the focus and the determination of an Arreola. So early on. So I mean, that's a very interesting fight. Depending on obviously what Arreola has left, I don't think he's gonna have enough to deal with this kid. To be honest, this kid is busy and he does punch pretty good, and he's extremely tough. So he's gonna keep coming. However, that should actually work to Arreola's favor. But like I said, it just all depends on what he has left in the tank. And to be honest, it doesn't look great. I mean, obviously he looked good in his last fight, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate to this one. The kid he fought was, a little young. You know what I mean? Didn't have a lot of experience as far as I know. I mean, it was just, it was just one of those situations. He got a good win. Not taking anything away from him from that. And the kid he fought, actually is somebody I know and a good friend of mine. But the kid was actually has skill. I thought he was going to do really well, but he ended up getting caught. That's the end. But this is, like I said, a very interesting matchup. But it all depends on Arreola and what he has left in the tank.
Yeah, it could be interesting for a couple of rounds if it even goes that far. I think I can see Kaunaki just jumping on him early, really. But he does kind of have to be careful because Arreola, I mean, for the, I don't want to say for the disrespect I'm giving him because I'm not giving him disrespect, but for the negativity I perhaps just said about him, he really does know how to finish guys, and I've seen him like the way he finished Seth Mitchell. I'll never forget that. He demolished him, and it was one of the one of the most savage kind of 1 or 2 round fights I've ever seen, really, because he just went after him. It was like a bull, like a crazy bull. He knows how to fight, and he fights with a lot of emotion and passion. He's a tough guy. If he's up for it, that's what I will say. If he's up for it, that's a big if. Yeah. The main event over here, though, Eddie, the final fight really to mention. Marcus Brown, 23-0. He defends his interim WBA World Light Heavyweight title, and there's the WBC Silver Light Heavyweight title on the line. I'm not quite sure if that's his belt or Jean Pascal's belt, but it doesn't really matter. The winner takes everything there. Jean Pascal, 33-6 with 1 draw. Obviously, fight number 41 for Jean Pascal. Again, another guy that is really at the tail end of his career. I actually think he retired for like a couple months and then came back. He's coming off that loss to Dimitri Bivol just under a year ago now. Another guy that's at the tail end of his career, and like we saw when Marcus Brown took on Badu Jack, he's relentless, he's tough, he's very big for light heavy, and I just think he's going to probably be too much really for Jean Pascal. I don't really see Jean Pascal being able to keep Marcus Brown off of him. That's the way I see it. How do you see it?
Yeah, at this stage in his career, and it happens to all fighters, Father Time is undefeated, so no matter what, even if you've been great, you've done great things. I mean, the great Bernard Hopkins was suffered to beat, by a guy who probably wouldn't have been much of a challenge for him at a better time in his career. But like I said, it's all depending on what these guys have left. I mean, Pascal at one point was a really, really tough competitor. Was probably one of the toughest guys, out there at his weight, which is at the 75 pound, the 175 pound limit at one point. But time is starting to creep up in there. You know what I mean? It's coming to the point where he's really at the end. You know what I mean? He's gonna have to. If he has one more left in him, I guess this should be the one. You know what I mean? But looking at Marcus Brown is, you know, in a good stage in his career. Obviously, enter his prime. He's got a, you know, he's got the background, the amateur background, talented guy. You know, I expect good things from him, and I expect him to win the fight. To be honest, I don't know if he's gonna stop him because you know Jean-Pascal is proud and tough. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, Marcus Brown, like I said, is at a real high in his career. He got a world title, and you know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, well said. I'm kind of unsure of if he's gonna get the stoppage or not. Marcus Brown, I think he will dominate though, massively, and I just think the size is going to be a problem, and the activity really that Marcus Brown you know, puts out, his output and stuff like that, and I just think it's going to be too much really for Pascal at this stage of his career. So I kind of agree there with a lot of what you're saying, Eddie. But that really is everything for the preview part of the show. Obviously, Eddie, I would just want to thank you once again for helping out on this week's show. You've done it many times. Like I say, you're almost part of the furniture now. You've spent so many hours helping me out with this, and you're really a massive part of the show. You're like the unsung hero of this podcast. So thanks once again for helping out.
I like that, man. I appreciate it, man. It's like I said, it's no problem, man, for me to help you out if that's what I'm doing, you know, because sometimes I get my little stutter on and it don't sound too good, so I don't want to mess up the show, you know what I mean? But no, it's been a fun thing. I've been enjoying it, and anytime you call me, you know what I mean, I'm always ready to go.
There we go. Eddie Chambers, very much part of the BoxHard podcast. You can go on his Wikipedia page and it will say that he regularly what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out.
I'm a staple of the. I don't even know if that's a good word.
a regular. I want to say. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
Go ahead. You
I still haven't got the word.
It is a headline, to be honest. I'm sitting there like, damn, I didn't get the word either. But let's just say I'm a regular on the podcast. How about that? I'm a regular.
That's way better. A regular panelist on the podcast. We'll have that.
There we go. Panelist. I like member panelist. That's all good.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Like I say, just before we wrap up part 2 and finally end the show, we've tried to whiz through everything as quick as possible this week. We've tried to keep the chatting to a minimal. Just before we wrap up part 2, the last thing to do, of course, is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the top heavyweight contender. It is the People's Champ. It is, of course, Mr. Michael Hunter. Mike, welcome back on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Mike. My pleasure. Obviously, we last spoke back in May, so not too long ago. It was just before your fight against Fabio Maldonado, a man that could seriously bang. And obviously, the guy took Oscar Rivas the distance. We saw him recently against Whyte. But talk to me. You were the first man to stop Maldonado. Talk me through the fight.
Oh, man, that was actually the plan to do so. We talked about it with my team, my coach Rock, and you never know really how these fights are going to go. That's why they have them. So I know the dude was a tough, durable opponent. I wasn't really expecting to knock him out so fast, but I trained really hard for the fight, and I studied a lot of his movements and stuff like that, and what he was kind of his his weaknesses, and I noticed that, and I'm a jabber, so I noticed that he really couldn't get away from the jab. That's what I noticed the most. So I just used that as a stepping stool and continued to capitalize on that. But after that, the right hand came behind it, and I was able to get a good 1-2 in, and he didn't really see the backhand behind the jab, and I think that's what kind of started it all off. And obviously, when somebody gets kind of hurt, you got to get a surge of energy, and I knew right there I wasn't going to let him off the hook. So I knew once I hurt him at that point that it wasn't going to take me too much longer.
And it certainly didn't. And obviously your next fight was announced this week. There's no exact date just yet, but we do know it'll be happening in September. You'll be taking on the undefeated Russian Sergey Kuzmin. What do you know about him, Mike?
Oh man, I know he has an extensive, great amateur background. he's beat a lot of decent guys that are, you know, in the pros and that are up and coming and doing well for themselves. So he has a lot of it's kind of like myself. I've been in the ring with a lot of different fighters and that people do not know about. So I think he's kind of like that. He's a kind of an underrated underdog kind of type of fighter. So it'll be an underdog versus an underdog, which is always makes for a good dog fight.
And again, since we last spoke, quite a lot of things have happened in the heavyweight division. Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz a week after you fought. So yeah, we haven't spoke since then. What was your initial thoughts on that? Obviously, a guy in Andy Ruiz that you know way better than a lot of people do.
Yeah, well, I've competed with Andy before, and I've sparred with him on numerous occasions. We're both from the West Coast and the same area. I told people in other interviews that this was not going to be no pushover. He was not going to lay down. You know, he has Mexican blood. He comes from that long line of warriors. And he has, people think that just because of his size and his weight, that they were going to just, and then they're looking at Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz and the physique on him. People thought that this was going to be an easy fight, that he was just going to win and he was being set up. But, the dude he's been boxing. He has a lot of boxing experience. He has more experience than Anthony Joshua as far as fighting amateurs and fighting in these tournaments and stuff like that. He's been fighting for quite some time. And so he's always fought at that size. That was another thing that I tried to explain, that it's not like he was a skinny guy and he got out of shape or something. That would have been a little different, but he fights at that size. So I think it was just a little mistake on the promotional part in the matchmaking. And I think it's going to be very hard for Anthony to win his belt back.
Yeah. A lot of people kind of having the same views as you there, Mike. Again, you were one of the names in the hat to get that fight. How would, in your honest opinion, how would that fight have played out if it was you in that ring on June the 1st? Obviously, I'm not expecting you to kind of think it'd go the exact same way, because obviously there was a real turning point when Ruiz got knocked down. That was where everything went wrong for Joshua, even though he managed to score a knockdown. But you, I don't believe, would think that you'd actually get knocked down with that shot by Joshua. So how would the fight have played out? Real long question.
And yeah, I just don't think there would have been a turning point. I just think it would have been a gradual butt whooping. And I think I might have got him out a little later because of the turning point. I think that was a very pivotal moment for the fight. So I think it would have took me just a little bit longer to get him out of there. But I think I would have definitely stopped him though.
Yeah. I like your view there. Quite honest that you're saying that you'd get the job done, but perhaps a little bit later. I know that that's your true thoughts. We saw a fight the other week. I don't really want to talk about the controversy that was attached to it, but Dillian Whyte against Rivas, again, another guy in Rivas that you know well, that you'd beaten in the amateurs. What did you make of that fight? I mean, I know that you watched it. Whyte boxed pretty well. Again, I want to try and steer away from the controversy that follows it, because we're not quite sure about the actual details, but what did you make of it?
I thought it was a decent performance by Dillian. I thought the pace suited Dillian Whyte. I thought the pace suited him. Rivas, he doesn't throw a lot of punches. He throws a lot of hard punches, but very few. And he's a lot shorter. He's kind of big and bulky. So I thought it was a good fight for Dillian to win. The only upside I think I would have gave Rivas is that he has a lot more amateur experience. So that goes a long ways to me, especially because I've been in the amateurs and stuff. So I kind of you kind of know that he wasn't gonna be pushed over or just ran over. But I think that was a good display and a good matchup for Dillian to display his boxing ability, and which he did that. He used his jab He used his distance. He got dropped. You know, I kind of forgot what he got hit with, but
it was an uppercut. I think it was a right uppercut.
Yes, it was. Yep, you're right. And I think if Rivas would have been a little more active, it would have played out a little different. I just think it was more Rivas losing than Dillian winning. That's my opinion.
Another fight that I'm sure kind of interests you from a, you know, from that Hunter perspective is a fight that we've heard just been made. Hughie Fury against Alexander Povetkin, a very weirdish kind of fight, but I really like the sound of it. I'm sure you do too. How do you see that one playing out, Mike?
That's funny you say that. That's kind of, usually I have a good idea of, you know, how the fight would go, but like you said, I'm kind of thrown off about the matchup. I actually like the two names going up against each other. I'm pretty sure nobody's going to dispute that. But actually in the fight and trying to think of how this will play out a little bit, it's kind of, there's a lot of different holes there, you know. We have Hughie, who's real, he's wiry, cagey, and you know, he has great, to be so young, he's very durable, you know, he has a great chin, and he comes from that, that hard fighting family of the Fury, so he's not going to lay down in no time. So, and I think he's very confident that he could beat him. You know, Povetkin's smaller, shorter guy. He's getting older now. And I think it's a good matchup. I think Povetkin, he feels like, you know, he has the more experience, and this was a good fight for him to pick. This will be a good fight for him to, get back on the scene and actually get another giant fight, because this is a big fight for him. I don't know about the money as wise, but I know that the fight is not an easy fight, and I know he's not looking at it as an easy fight. So I'm very excited to see it because it's a mystery, I think, and that's what everybody's kind of thinking about this fight. I'm not sure. I haven't even heard anybody give too many predictions or how it would go. And usually, like I said, I have usually a good prediction or a way I can kind of foretell how the fight is going to go. But like you said, I'm kind of at loss for ideas on this one. So I'm excited to see it because it has a lot of darkness into it.
Tyson Fury, they're still looking for an American opponent. I believe that Top Rank insists that his next opponent should be an American. I think that's probably a good idea. But who should it be? Because there's lots and lots of names flying around, Charles Martin, stuff like that. Who'd you?
Me?
Yeah, but is it gonna? Can that happen with the promotional clashes and that between Frank and Eddie?
No, not really. But I can always wish and hope. But it's not impossible, but likely no. I heard it was going to be Charles Martin. I could see that fight happening. Charles is he put on a poor performance fighting Anthony, but this dude, I'll say it again. You know, I know a lot of these guys. I've sparred with them. I've trained with them. I fought these guys. He's what do you call it? It's a word. It's like he's a back and forth. You never kind of know what Martin is going to come. So he's not. He's a strong, big, strong southpaw. And mostly southpaws are kind of boxers, more of a boxer. So I think that would be a great fight to see. I would be interested in watching it as long as definitely Martin comes out with the right mindset and he has the right training and he actually puts his intentions in the training and he comes with it. I think it would be an interesting fight. I would watch it. People would, because of the Anthony Joshua fight, they're always going to look over him. But I would tell you that this is not a fighter that you should look over at all. The dude is very heavy-handed. He's naturally heavy-handed. He's a big boy, and he used to watch me box all the time. He likes it. He loves what he does. He likes that stuff. He likes to fight. So, like you said, the performance for the Anthony Joshua, it might have been too fast, too soon, and just very, too big. They had 80,000 fans in front of them, and in a different environment. But he's a little more seasoned now. He's fought a couple more times. He's went through that experience. So I think that would be a good matchup for him. I don't really know any other names that they're throwing out there, but I would like him. I would like him to see. I would like that fight.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't many names. That's the problem. I mean, the other name that I've heard mentioned because he got a decent win the other week was Gerald Washington. So I think that's okay. But just to also throw in when Joshua fought Martin, it was at the O2, so there was only about 20,000 people there. But yeah. That's cool. Mike, the last real thing, as always, I throw it over to you to just have a final say. If you've got anything that you want to get off your chest at all before I let you go, any closing message to the fans, take it away. The floor is yours.
Watch me in Vegas fight in September. I'll be fighting Sergey Kuzmin, and the boy is going to sleep.
And where, Mike? Where can people purchase your T-shirts and stuff online anywhere?
Yeah, you can find it on the link in my bio on my Instagram. I'm kind of working on getting the website up and stuff like that right now, but it's definitely on the link in my bio on my Instagram.
Okay.
You can follow me, Michael Bounty Hunter. The whole thing is spelled out on Instagram, so follow me.
Michael Bounty Hunter and Michael. What's it on Twitter? Michael Hunter II.
Yeah.
Michael Hunter II. Okay, everyone follow that, and of course hit up the bio for those Michael Hunter t-shirts because believe me, they're very, very nice. But listen, Mike, it is always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. You know that. Best of luck for September, and I'm sure that we'll speak sometime after.
Hey, thank you. It's always a pleasure being here, and I appreciate you having me on for the podcast. BoxHard Podcast is the best podcast to follow and to listen and get all the best information. So continue to listen. Thank you.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 198 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Kuzmin. The former heavyweight world title challenger, Eddie Chambers, has been with me for the duration of the show. I'd also like to thank our two guests on this week's show, the reigning IBF Super-Featherweight World Champion, Tevin Farmer, and the top heavyweight contender, Michael Hunter. I did forget to mention earlier on that the prediction league remains the same as last week because none of us picked Ramirez to beat Hooker by KO, so the scores remain exactly the same. The prediction league will be back soon. We're just kind of waiting for some bigger fight weeks to come round. Ayaz won't be back by next week's show, so next week's show will once again be hosted by myself and one special guest. There has been a couple of pieces of news break whilst we've been recording the show. On the same Lomachenko vs Campbell undercard, the one that will feature Hughie Fury against Povetkin, we'll also get to see Charlie Edwards defend his WBC World Flyweight title against the guy that knocked out Andrew Selby, Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilar, and also Savannah Marshall has signed a promotional contract with Matchroom Sports. Obviously seeing that Eddie Hearn has worked with Clarissa Shields once or twice. It would be great to see those ladies have a rematch in the pros. I'm guessing that will probably be the end goal, and that's probably what Eddie looks to deliver there. That'll be exciting. But that is about everything from me this week. Remember to tell a friend to tell a friend. This has been the BoxHard Podcast, the most international boxing podcast in the world and the best podcast out there. You listeners make this show as great as it is. We shall see you all again next week, though, so take care and enjoy your weekends, people.